Welcome everybody back to my channel, The Apprentice Adventurer. In today's video, we're going to be speaking about all things GoPro and the setup and all things helmet setup so that you can have footage like this. It's crystal clear. Whilst traveling at speed about 100 kilometers an hour here, the GoPro is picking up all the surrounds with good clarity. It has really vibrant colors and I haven't changed anything on any of the editing programs, and it's very, very stable. Or you could have dodgy footage like this. It's really blurry, grainy, the color is all off, and the GoPro itself is so unstable. The footage is not stable at all, and this is what it can look like when you've got the wrong settings. Well, there you go, guys. No doubt in that footage, you could see the difference between a good setup and a bad setup on your camera. Even though YouTube's probably compressed this video, I can assure you on the laptop before uploading, that quality footage was crystal clear, and that bad footage is probably worse than what you're seeing on YouTube now, and we're just so shaky. So if you set this up right, you too could have quality footage that you enjoy actually viewing, and I'm going to show you how right now. So I use a GoPro 12 with a Media Mod. If you're not familiar with the Media Mod, so here's a close-up of the Media Mod, obviously without the GoPro in it, but it does have a really good dead cat and built-in speakers front and back if you were filming without a plug-in, perhaps when you're stationary around the campsite or whatnot. It also comes with a top and side mount for adapters, things like other microphones, maybe a light of some sort, and some aftermarket accessories. You do have under here, there's your audio jack, which is a standard fitting. Then under the second one, you can actually charge and film as you go, but that's your charging point. And then up the top here, and get that open. Up the top here is a mini HDMI, so you can actually view your footage and do some things with that on a different screen. I never really use that, but I certainly use the bottom two. But just keep in mind that it does have a thick frame, so if it doesn't fit your mount, because it might not allow it to tilt all the way back, because this may get in the way, you will have to modify your mount accordingly. But ultimately, I believe this is a really good purchase. So that then brings me to my helmet setup. I've got an old Bell helmet. It's probably due to be thrown in a bin and for me to get a new one, but I'm just really happy with my setup, and because it hasn't broken or failed me yet, I just keep this helmet because each helmet has its own unique problems with trying to mount one of these chin mounts. But for me, this is a chin mount off Camgo. Let's have a quick look to see what that looks like. Camgo.com.au. I don't know if this is Australian owned and operated or anything like that. I came across it by complete accident a few years ago. But if you head over to the accessories for GoPro, they have two standard ones. You've got this one here, the motorcycle helmet strap mount for GoPro. You can't get that one if you're going to use the Media Mod, or the one that I've purchased here, motorcycle helmet chin mount for GoPro. That one is now $24.95. So I have two of them in case it breaks. If we open it up, it'll give you a little bit of a description and whatnot. But as I mentioned before, the issue is this front bit. If you happen to have a bit of a fall, it can snap. So it's always good to have a spare. But I find of all these straps, it is really universal and ties to a lot of helmets, and there is an image of it tied down like mine. But you do need to keep in mind that this one is the right one for the Media Mod, because it can be screwed in via the right side, because the GoPro Media Mod is one directional in terms of screwing it to your mount. If you go back to the other one, I learnt this the hard way. This one screws in from the other side and it won't allow the GoPro Media Mod to be attached. So just keep that one in mind. Otherwise, if you don't have the Media Mod, both of them fit really well. So now let me talk about my microphone. But before I do, let's just head over to the internet. I use a Rode Lavalier Go back in the day for around $100. It was a long time ago. But let's quickly head over to the internet, see what they're going for at the moment. No doubt you get some good deals, but let's just go to the actual Rode website so I give you a probably most expensive version of it. There you go, $110. That's the one that I have, but I also should come with a couple of, let's see if there's any images of it. No, there is not. Yeah, here we go. It should also come with one of these little dead cats, or here they're calling it a mini fur lav. but I also have that on mine, but I got mine with the purchase many years ago. My Lavalier Go has lasted now 4 years. It's gotten wet, it's gotten dry. Along here in the brass, it's all wearing out, so no doubt it's on its last legs, but value for money. And as you can tell by my videos, it's pretty clear considering I've also got a contend of the motorbike noise and the wind noise. But definitely the correct placement in your helmet and having that dead cat on really goes to aiding in good quality audio. So I've got my helmet upside down here just to show how I've ran the microphone. So the microphone comes up in here and I actually run it underneath the padding because there's quite a length of cable attached to it. But with the padding, you've got those red or, depends on your helmet, you've got buttons. So I make sure the actual cabling is on the upside of the button so the cable can't slip out of the padding. And then out here, hopefully you can see that I've got the actual end of the microphone right out next to the cheek pad, and the pressure of the cheek pad will pretty much hold that in place. But just as a bit of extra security, I do have a bit of sticky tape just holding the end of the cable down. And then the little bit here is the dead cat. Now that dead cat will tickle and tickle and tickle your cheeks all day long. So once you've got it installed, get a pair of scissors and just prune back the side that's touching your cheeks. Just be careful not to prune back too much of it. And that dead cat really changes the clarity of the audio when the visor is up. If the visor's down, it's not so bad, but it definitely helps with that wind noise when the visor is up. So here is my GoPro 12 homepage, but before I get into my personal settings, let me take you over to this website which explains all the ProTune settings in depth, and that'll save me trying to explain them and dragging out this video. If you head over to the internet, type up GoPro ProTune, and then you should get this GoPro Support Hub page, and it will bring you to the Advanced ProTune Controls Explained page. And all these blue tabs here will take you to the appropriate thing that I'm talking about. And you can actually go and read about it yourself. For example, the ISO here, it'll give you an explanation. And it'll also give you examples of what it can and can't do with the picture quality. So I encourage you to head over here, read about everything. But now let's get into my settings and what I run on my GoPro 12.
So let's get into my GoPro 12 settings now. If we press on the point of view, it'll give you many options where you can put your own presetted formats in. Don't get confused by what a point of view is. It's just so that you can have multiple options and toggle through them really quickly should you have different filming requirements. I just use the same one though. So for me, it's the point of view on the bottom there. Let's go into the statistics. So I run a standard profile with a 16:9 aspect. I find that the 16:9 aspect is pretty much a given these days with all the widescreen TVs and computers, especially when uploading to YouTube. I don't run a HDR profile. I find the standard is just fine for what I'm doing with the motorbike. We'll now move down a little bit. I run a 4K 10-bit with a 50 frame rate. I used to play around with 2.7 and in the early days a 1080 resolution, but now that I've got a better computer and better editing software, I can manage the 4K. So just keep in mind that the higher your resolution, not only does it take up bigger files on your computer and for downloading, but also you need to have the computer and editing software that can actually manage that and make sure it's not all choppy and I guess clunky would be the word. In terms of the super view or hyper view, I run the super view because to me, whilst riding at speed especially, I find that's the most realistic representation of how fast you're going with everything going past you. The hyper view, in my opinion, just distorts the picture a little bit too much, and obviously wide, well, there's no point having a GoPro if you're only going to film in the wide view. So super view works really well for me. Moving down to the capture section. Most of these items I don't use. I do have the duration set to 15 minutes. That's because I ride all day long and have my camera on and sometimes forget about it. So that way it'll turn itself off after 15 minutes. The hindsight function is pretty cool. You can have it set to 15 seconds or 30 seconds. But I have mine off. The reason why I have it off because for hindsight to work, when you press your GoPro to go on because something happened, it's always recording and it might catch 30 or 15 seconds of footage that it wasn't otherwise recording formally. That's only good if your camera's on all the time. So if you're riding all day long, that's not conducive to battery life. But if you're only having like an hour or two and you're happy to have your GoPro on the whole time, that'll be a really good function to have on in case something crazy happens in front of you. But for me, it is off. Now for the Pro Tune, as I said, head over to that website if you want to really understand these better. For me though, I have the shutter on auto. The EV comp is 0. I sometimes go to -5 or +5, but the GoPro 12 0 has been working pretty good for me. 5005K for the white balance. I always have that set to that function. ISO is a debatable topic. For me, I go ISO 100 to 1600. Sometimes I will drop this down to the 800 mark, and I'll go back here. But to be honest, the sort of riding I do, I'm pretty well lit all the time, and the 100 to 1600 just generally captures everything I need it to capture. I'm not out trying to make the perfect of perfect videos, because then you always have to chop and change the settings depending on the conditions. But if you're always in the same conditions, then that should suit you quite well. I always have the sharpness on medium, not high. Color can be a debatable item too. For me, I find the vibrant, which is the GoPro's color, it's too oversaturated to me. The flat certainly is no good. And if you were filming anything other than a black canvas, which I am now, this would actually show you the differences that you are selecting. But if you're filming in a lot of low light or just dull areas, perhaps the vibrant color will be good for you. But for what I'm doing, natural works well. Raw audio is off, wind is NA, and the media mod. The media mod is on NA at the moment because I have my audio plugged in. But if I didn't have my microphone plugged in, you could function between the media mod and go between the front or the rear or both microphone options. But once you plug in an external mic, it goes to be deactivated. And then your shortcuts, well, that's personal preference. The shortcuts is just showing you what you have on your home page, which would look like these items here. So you can have a quick option to change certain functions, but that's obviously up to each individual. But they're my settings. I hope they have helped. I apply this to all my motovlogging and normally filming in decent light and at speed and when there's a lot of things happening around me. And these settings have always done me very well. So try them yourself and no doubt you'll be quite happy with the results.
So there you have it, everybody. We've spoken about my GoPro settings, the microphone that I use, and my helmet setup. Hopefully this has helped for your own application and for your own filming. Give those settings a go, and I'm pretty confident saying that you'll be really happy with the quality of the footage. Probably the only thing you need to play around with is the positioning of the camera and how far it faces up or down. But good luck, have fun out there, ride safe, and I'll catch you all on the next adventure.